Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something huge. We're not just talking about adding a few AI features to your apps. We're going way deeper, asking a much bigger question about the very foundation of our digital lives, the operating system itself.
Just let that sink in for a second. Imagine your computer not just waiting for you to click something, but actually understanding your goals, guessing what you need next, and working with you to get things done. That's the wild idea researchers are digging into right now. Okay, let's get into it.
So, to really get where this is all headed, we have to look at what's holding us back right now. Our current operating systems are absolute marvels of engineering, but they all run on one single principle. They follow a fixed set of rules.
And this slide, it really just lays it all out. On the left, that's every OS we've ever known. It's basically a robot, just following orders, doing exactly what it's programmed to do. But on the right, that's the new vision, a system that actually learns from you, that gets to know you, and becomes aware of what you're really trying to accomplish. So what that really means is, even with all the incredible progress we've seen, your computer has no real intelligence. It can't think outside the box. It can run a million different programs, sure, but it has no clue about the intent behind why you're even using them in the first place.
So, because of this massive blind spot, computer scientists are now proposing something pretty radical. It could totally redefine what we even think an operating system is. An operating system with a soul. How cool is that? That's the core idea from a new research paper. And look, this isn't just about making things a little bit smarter. This is about giving the very heart of the system a whole new kind of intelligence.
And here's how they think we can do it. Instead of just slapping some AI features on the outside, the idea for an AIOS is to put a large language model, the tech that powers stuff like ChatGPT, right smack in the middle, making it the new, intelligent brain of the whole operation.
So what does that actually look like in practice? How do you take the parts of a computer we all know and translate them into this new AI-first world? Well, let's break down the blueprint. Okay, here's the translation guide. The kernel, the old brain of the computer, that's the LLM now. Your computer's RAM, that's kind of like the LLM's short-term memory, or its context window. But the part that gets really exciting, the biggest change, is what happens to your apps. They become agent applications.
Right, so these aren't programs you double-click anymore. They're autonomous agents that you talk to, that you direct. Just imagine saying to your computer, hey, plan a weekend trip to the mountains, find a cabin that lets me bring my dog, and go ahead and book it if it's under $200 a night. An agent could actually do all that, using different tools just like a person would.
And this is the real game changer. It points to a future where you don't have to be a coder to create software. You could just describe what you want an agent to do, what its goals are, just using plain English. That could open up software creation to everyone on a scale we've literally never seen before.
Okay, I know this all sounds incredible, but let's be real. There is a huge, huge technical problem we have to solve first. It's pretty much the Achilles heel of all the AI models we have today. Exactly. LLMs have famously short memories, that fixed context window. After a few thousand words, they start forgetting what you talked about at the beginning of the conversation. An operating system with a soul can't have the memory of a goldfish. So how do we fix that?
Well, the solution, and this is pretty clever, actually comes from borrowing an idea from the very same operating systems this new tech is trying to replace. Researchers have built a system called MEMGPT, and it uses something called virtual context management. Basically, you can think of it as giving the AI a long-term memory or a hard drive for its brain.
You've definitely run into this, right? You're talking to a chatbot, you tell it your name, and then 10 messages later, it's asking who you are again. You mentioned some really important detail, and poof, it's just gone. That's the exact problem MEMGP was built to solve.
So here's how it works. MEMGPT basically treats the LLM's short-term memory like a computer's RAM. Once it gets full, the system gets a little alert. Then the AI intelligently figures out which pieces of the conversation are less important right now and moves them into long-term storage. And then, and this is the magic part, when that old info becomes relevant again, it just pulls it right back in. The whole process creates this perfect illusion of an infinite memory.
The result is just so powerful. Imagine on February 7th, you casually mention it's your birthday and that your friend James baked you a cake. The system files that away. Then a week later, you mention that you and James broke up. It updates its memory. Now it can have a truly consistent, even empathetic conversation because it remembers the whole story without you having to repeat yourself over and over. So, we have a thinking brain and a working memory. Where does that leave us? What does the future actually look like?
Well, it seems to be pointing toward a whole new ecosystem of these intelligent agents.
And the to-do list for building this future, once again, borrows from the history of operating systems. We're going to need really smart resource management, so you don't have different agents fighting over the same tools. We'll need a standard way for them to talk to each other, so your travel agent can coordinate with your calendar agent. And, maybe most importantly, we're going to need totally new kinds of security for a world filled with autonomous software.
Because at the end of the day, this whole vision is so much bigger than just making better chatbots. It is a fundamental paradigm shift. We're moving away from the OS app model we've had for decades to a completely new AI-OS agent ecosystem. It could change how we interact with computers at the most basic level.
Which brings us to this one last thought to leave you with. We started this by asking, what if your OS was a teammate? But maybe the real question is, what happens when every single one of us has the power to create our very own team of specialized software agents, just by describing what we need them to do? That is the future this blueprint is pointing us toward.